Hola amigos, Ghost here, and today we continue our campaign into Secret Wars. Last time, DeeDee and Co. arrived in Yugoslavia to aid the resistance against the Germans. At first, DeeDee helped the resistance group called the Chetniks. But, after witnessing and putting a stop to an atrocity by them, DeeDee and Co. began to help the Yugoslavian People's Liberation Army under General Tito. During this, group leader McIntyre returned into the picture through sending an officer named Edwards to help report on the Liberation Army's struggle. Now, DeeDee and Co. continue their efforts in helping the resistance. Let's do this!
Officially, the British Army was supporting the Chetnik resistance, since the King of Yugoslavia was being sheltered in England. But the Chetniks' own atrocities had raised eyebrows in London, and led to Captain John Edwards being sent to assess the situation. The People's Liberation Army were keen to accept overseas assistance, and Edwards was clearly impressed by their courage and organization. In the midst of the chaos of the war, Edwards offered a welcome taste of hope. Despite working undercover with the Slav resistance, witness to terrible fighting and painful sacrifice, his mood remained positive. With despair a constant temptation, his resilience was refreshing, attractive even. Tommy warmed to Edwards as well. I realized later that maybe the dashing young officer, so certain in his morals yet strangely carefree in his attitude, reminded him of a soberer version of my father.
Muy interesante. Also, I just realized, the People's Liberation Army was the real-life resistance group. I know there was other ones. I think there was other ones in Yugoslavia, but that was the main one. And also, it's weird that she possibly sees a younger version of her father, but also kind of finds him attractive. That's kind of funny at the same time and weird. But regardless, Massacre. Lovely. The Nazis have launched a massive offensive against the Yugoslavian resistance. German aircraft are attacking a partisan outpost in Sujeska. You must take off immediately and lend whatever support you can. Engage enemy bombers and save as many resistance fighters as you can. Objectives: take off and protect the outpost. Will do. Alright, and it looks like the Soviet bomber is once more recommended. Let's use it. 1943. Edwards intends to meet with Marshal Tito himself, and I'm to transport him to Sujeska, where the People's Liberation Army is centered. However, major aerial presence is forecast, and I'm ready to flee at the slightest provocation. As a flyer, I have that luxury. But if Sujeska is overwhelmed, what will become of the ground forces? Our margins are no longer weeks or days, but hours.
Worst case scenario, DeeDee. Get Edwards out of there.
Damn it!
Just fly.
The hospital. Bombers. Bombers, yes.
Jesus Christ, there's just so many. They god, this sucker can take some damage. Ah, my gun's out.
Nice work, DeeDee, but we need to get out of here.
I must witness as much as possible for my report. People must know what is happening.
Look, ambulances.
At least try to defend them.
They're gonna get attacked any second, aren't they?
No,
Try.
those were wounded soldiers.
There's a civilian settlement. Maybe we can help.
Oh shit, here comes more fighters.
You tried. This is too much for 3 planes.
2 planes and dead.
Oh my god, another wave. Oh my god. Oh, this is helpless. We'll kill as many of these kraut bastards. You kraut bastards. Gonna pay for this one. Oh, my gun is out. Come on, you bastard. Says to save ourselves, but yet they're still fighting the fighters.
It's over.
For us and for the dead. But what of those who still live?
We earned 11 stars, and we need 2 more for a new aircraft. We took out 5 BF-109s, 10 Stukas, and 11 Heinkel 111s. Though a lot of civilians and soldiers and partisans are dead now, unfortunately. We will increase our agility, I guess. 1943. And so it was. Thousands of wounded soldiers were killed without any chance of escape or mercy. Thousands of combatants had been captured or killed. Tommy, Clive, and myself watched the massacre from the air. Any attempts to aid were futile. The Nazis had overcome the People's Liberation Army. Like a wave washing seaweed from a beach, Yugoslavia is no longer even marginally safe. Though resistance continues on the ground, it will have to continue without us.
I was able to fly, to preserve some distance from the bloodshed. But on the ground it was inescapable. The massacre at Sujeska hung over the country like a shroud. Resistance was weakening, resolve was breaking. To come so close only to be so cruelly cut down. It was too painful to contemplate. We flew to Korčula. The island camp had been devastated, but we salvaged some fuel, some motor parts, some vile food. McIntyre joined us there to confer with Edwards. I reacted with little more than weary resignation. He offered work, which at least provided a distraction from the bleak mood I found myself slipping into. There was some action in Poland, and McIntyre wanted to influence it. More resistance men fighting impossible odds, he promised us. We had nowhere else to go. To my surprise, the despair seemed to take the edge off McIntyre's insufferable pomposity. His formal manner slipped away like the skin of a snake in the face of such loss and sorrow. I expected him to tire me with mission details and operational requirements. But instead he spoke of my father's old squadron. Those faces so familiar from Tommy's old photograph.
June 7th, 1943. We haven't heard from Night Owl in days. We're at the short camp on the island of Korčula. As I write this, Tommy and Clive are scavenging fuel, parts, and food. Group leader is also here, come to evacuate Edwards. We have our differences, but I can't help but respect group leader's courage. Yugoslavia is a thrashing corpse penetrated by thousands of Nazi maggots, and yet here he is, still fighting his secret war.
Hear their voices sometimes. Men are used to flavor. Lenny Devereaux, the Frenchman, Archie, Paul, practically the same. A litany before you. The bear, of course. The crazy man of the skies. He who seeks death cannot find it. And some other chap whose name escapes me. Let's call it Redundant. He was a scrawny fellow, after all. Krihia wasn't my finest house. Of course. There are those who maintain that to come back at all is an achievement. Losing a lad or two is part of the course. Flying with suicide devices. Kite stick, not planes. Held together with glue and string. Paper kites. Set of targets to take out, and the guns came first. I always suspected that them and man would get himself shot. He limped away, back from whence we'd come, and I'm sure he wasn't sorry to leave. guns were silenced. Good job. Always hated the whir of machine gun fire through the air. Like angry insects. Hated the noise. We were to move on and neutralize an artillery battery next. No rest for the wicked. They'd make a big, fat spitting sound, and the shells would rise up in the air. Big and fat and slow. Fell away from me. A big, slow, hanging premonition. Archie had some trouble with it. Not slow, not clumsy. And a stray shell. It couldn't be. Just bad luck for Archie. It hacked through his wing. Couldn't even see it. We got the job done. No fuss or bother, if you know what I mean. More machine guns to come. And even from that distance, we could hear the ack-ack fire. Seems like the decent thing to do would be to simplify the whole operation and stay on the ground. Hear that sound in the dreams as well. Hear the aborted there. He was torn up in his hand. Came down and wouldn't have felt a thing. Poor sod. Took those nests, but it was time to go. Beck wanted to go in, and Bo wanted to go see if he could find Archie. But as the man in charge, I had to be first. Back we went. A good number of losses on both sides. Which is the point of the story then. No harm in dying if your job's done, you know. Always preferable to live. A good pilot's hard to find. They die so bloody often. But if the job's finished, well, what more can be asked? A good trade-off's what you're looking for. A sensible exchange, yours for theirs. That's war. That's the best you can hope for at the end of the day.
June 7th, 1943. And so we are heading for Poland. Yugoslavia taught me that risk can pay off, that luck will always run out, and that to win isn't the only reason to fight. It's that last lesson which gives me the most hope. If the Yugoslavian People's Liberation Army can slow the Nazi war machine with their lives, perhaps my tiny fight might also have some effect. And yet, the Sujeska massacre is burned into my eyes, and all I can hear at night is screaming. And with that, Operation Black has been completed, and now we must move on to Poland for Operation Belt. Gotta say, I love that little World War One section again. More about the past, about her father and the characters that knew him and all that. And also just overall, this campaign was interesting to be able to talk a little bit about how the Yugoslavians were, even though they were united in terms of fighting against the Nazis, they at the same time still held onto their ethnic and national rivalries between each other. Croatians, Serbians, those who believed in being Yugoslavian, etc., etc. And I also liked how it, even though we were doing good, it showed that the Germans were still stronger than the partisans at the end of the day. So far, another solid campaign, and we're moving on to the fourth one. If I remember correctly, there's 7 of these campaigns. I'm not sure, I don't know, but obviously we're getting close to the end of the war since this one is from 1943 to 1944. And obviously the war in Europe, at least, ends in the middle of 1945. So, yeah, we're getting closer to the end. We're about midway in terms of this game's set campaigns. We're about midway there. But, yeah, anyway, next time we will deal with Operation Belt. Until then. And with that, we conclude today's chapter of our campaign into Secret Wars. I hope you all enjoyed today's chapter. I certainly did. Until next time, it's a Ghost, signing out.